During the construction of the building, we had to have the building inspector, and we got one that is notorious. I was with my contractor, and this man walked in and he said, "When I come into a building, I'm God. Do not talk. I will do all the talking. You will do the listening, and you will do what I tell you to do." And that was it.
Welcome to the building and permit process in the city of Los Angeles.
It's crazy. You know, you walk in these long lines, you don't know where you're supposed to go, you can't take cut to ask a question.
Oh, it was so frustrating.
I think the whole process is much too complex for the average homeowner.
I see a lot of people just giving up in the middle of it.
It was like working with three different entities all together. You would think that one was a private developer in Maui and one was in Japan and one was somewhere else.
If I had to invest my money or my partner's money and go to lenders and ask to borrow money to build a project, I would want it to be in a place where it was reasonably welcome and reasonably simple to do, and I don't think the city of LA is a place like that.
As soon as we hear the word Los Angeles, we say, oh. And we start looking at our numbers all over again.
It's a mindless process that nobody seems to be able to get a handle on.
Absolutely, without a doubt, this is by far the most difficult city to go through the permitting process to build new stores.
I don't think that there's anybody in the process who knows the way.
It's time to make a change. It's time for the Department of Building Safety to become user-friendly, or it's going to have more serious ramifications than I think most people realize.
Even children have become victims of the system. Consider what the folks at the North Valley YMCA in Mission Hills went through when they tried to build a new child daycare center. The operators of the daycare center say city inspectors kept contradicting each other. The result, costly delays for the school and anxious moments for parents.
I had parents calling me constantly. We were supposed to open in January. We didn't open until September. Basically, we couldn't open because the inspectors did change their minds. They did keep delaying us. Every time someone else came out, they switched the plans around, saying that this was not okay, that you needed to do it this way now. And then we would change it and we'd do it that way, and someone else would come out and say, well, why did you do that? You need to switch it back to the way it was. It did cause a financial hardship. We did have bills to pay, even though we weren't open. We still had electricity and gas and salaries to pay. So that was hard, and we had no income coming in. We did have a waiting list of about 100 children that wanted to use the center. We opened with about 24 children, so we did lose a lot of families because of the delays.
My family size grew, and this house is only a 2-bedroom, so we decided that looking at the mathematics of the whole thing, and based upon the price per square foot to build in the hills, it would cost X amount of dollars.
So Elliot Klein bought the empty lots next door and decided to build a home for himself, a decision he lived to regret.
In the middle of my plan check, after I had paid all my fees, that, oh, wait a minute, you don't live on a public street. And the logical assumption was that it was a street because it was posted by the city, no parking. They pick up the rubbish. If the rains come and anything falls in the street, the city comes by with their crews and maintains the street in that manner.
After hiring a lawyer and spending thousands of dollars on legal fees, Elliot Klein was able to convince the city he indeed lived on a street. But that was only one hurdle.
What sort of irked me was the fact that once I was in plan check, my plan checker moved from Los Angeles to San Pedro. And I was told, well, you have the choice. You can get a new plan checker and start all over again, or you can go down to San Pedro. So I spent 4 trips down to San Pedro on my boss's time trying to get out of plan check. Based upon my experience with the whole project, my advice to anybody who's attempting to do this is don't do it.
We'll do anything it takes to maintain the independence of a senior citizen. whatever it takes. Keep them out of institutions.
The dedicated staff of St. Barnabas also wanted its own independence. After years of renting offices to run their programs, the directors of the Senior Center decided to build their own facility. That's when Reverend Hall and St. Barnabas ran into the system.
Although we had a certificate of occupancy, the inspector turned up Monday morning, our first day in the building, with notice to quit. I took a notice to quit very seriously. I thought it meant they brought the marshal by and physically evicted you. I didn't know any better. I did what I had to do, which was stay here. But we had a list of revisions that we had to make, which cost us in total about $225,000. The $225,000 that it costs to make these revisions would support this Alzheimer daycare program for a year. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking simply to rely on the plan check process, to rely on a certificate of occupancy. Plan checks in Los Angeles mean absolutely nothing. They are expensive, they're time-consuming, and they mean absolutely nothing.
This project was a street widening in the valley. This project is a very simple project. It's a run-of-the-mill project. Nothing unusual or controversial about it. It's just widening a street 20 feet on one side of the street. That's all. The system is just totally out of control. You know, we had 40 different people looking at a set of plans that was only 6 sheets. That's what kills you in the city of LA. There's no other city that we run into that has that type of bureaucracy. We deal with a handful of people, maybe 3, maybe 4 in one set of plans of that size. This is a flow chart of what this particular small project had to go through. Under geometrics, we submit the plans. The girl that takes it in, the first thing she does is send it to get a work order number assigned. This work order number, I've learned, takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks to get done. Just to have somebody somewhere else, and they won't even tell me where that somewhere else is. Believe me, I asked. It's like, you know, national security or something. And then it filters its way back to the main office, and then the plan checker, the real plan checker here, looks at it, okay? Then his boss looks at it, then his boss's boss looks at it, then his boss's boss's boss looks at it. Then it comes back to us, we do corrections, it starts here again, continues through this loop all over again. It's only funny if you're not going through this.
The city, both physically and bureaucratically, has just evolved with no real plan. And so now it has outgrown its system. And there is not enough political will to overhaul that system. I sit on a City Council Advisory Committee with many developers and development consultants who constantly complain about the turnaround time, the expense of the time. I've even heard developers say, we wouldn't mind paying all these fees if it really meant that you could turn this around faster and we could get out of the ground faster, because every day, every week costs thousands and thousands of dollars to them. So the private sector is very negative to the city, and many developers as well as consultants have chosen to not work in the city of Los Angeles at all.